God is here. And I believe he's going to do something today. I really believe he's going to touch people's hearts. I mean, this message I'm going to bring is about hope, which is the name of our church. And I believe it's going to bring hope to you, especially if you think you've blown it with God, which is, I won't ask you to stick your hand up. I think we all blow it with God on a regular basis. He's a God of many, many chances, and he's always willing to forgive us and restore us. And so today's story is all about my favourite disciple, Peter. So let's go. So we're looking at a little mini-series over the summer on the heroes of the faith. And Peter is definitely one of my heroes of the faith. So I'd like you to read it out. So after 3, 1, 2, 3. When they'd finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said. "You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." The third time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, "Follow me." Strange, isn't it? It's like Jesus asks him the same question 3 times. There's got to be a reason, isn't it, for repetition in the Bible, and we are going to unpack it. If you've ever wondered why Jesus asked 3 times, hopefully I'm going to answer it for you today. So as I said, we're looking at the heroes of the faith, this little mini-series, and disciple Peter is the person we're going to be focusing on, specifically looking at Peter's restoration. Peter's redemption is basically the title for today's story, today's preach. Because as we know, if you know your Bible well, Peter fell from grace quite dramatically, didn't he? When he denied Jesus 3 times after Jesus was arrested. And that's literally what I'm pivoting the story around. So I'm hoping and praying that today's real but true story of Peter's fall, but also his restoration, will give all of us hope when we blow it with God. Because as I've already said, if we blow it with God, but we truly repent and we're sorry for what we've done and we turn around, then God is more than willing to meet us and heal us and restore us and put us back on our feet again. And he just loves to do that over and over again, because we will mess it up over and over again. So let's put today's passage into some context so that you see where I'm going with it. The Feed My Sheep encounter that Peter had with Jesus had literally just happened after Jesus had risen from the dead. Jesus had been in the tomb 3 days, and then he rose from the dead, and he appeared to the disciples, didn't he, on various encounters. But this was the time when he appeared on the lakeside. And I think it's an interesting encounter, isn't it? I think the disciples were fairly despondent. They probably didn't realise that, they probably thought Jesus was gone, I'm sure Peter, fearing that Jesus was dead forever, what did he do? Well, he went back to his security blanket, didn't he? He was a fisherman before Jesus called him. After he thought Jesus had gone, or he wasn't sure what was going on, he went back to his security. How many of us do that when we're feeling insecure or fearful? Did we go back to our security blankets instead of trusting in the Lord? But the thing is, he goes back to his fishing job and he catches nothing all night until someone on the shore tells him to recast his net. Peter complies. He doesn't even know it's Jesus. He just hears this guy saying, "Recast your net." So Peter complies, and then he catches this miraculous load of fish, doesn't he? It's just incredible. And it's then that Peter finally, the scales come off, sorry for a fish pun, but the scales come off his eyes and he sees that it's Jesus on the lakeside. And typical Peter, he doesn't just, "Hi Jesus," what's he do? Leaps out of the boat, dives into the water, can't get to Jesus quick enough because he loves Jesus and he's so excited to be near him. So to understand why Jesus asked Peter basically that same question 3 times, And then, and again, it annoyed Peter, didn't it? Typical Peter, it really annoyed him. So I think we need to go back in time and look at his fall from grace. So we can have the next slide. Thank you. So this is, I've titled this Peter's Bravado and Jesus' sobering reply. So Peter asked, Lord, why can't I follow you now? This is putting into context, they just had the Last Supper. Judas had gone out and betrayed Jesus, and he's saying that, all of you will be scattered. And Peter says, no, Lord, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stick with you to the end. And Jesus gives him a very sobering reply, doesn't he? Surely, will you really lay down your life for me, Peter? Very truly, I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will have denied me, disowned me 3 times. And Peter probably thought, what's he talking about? I'm not going to betray him. So there we are. Jesus had finished washing the disciples' feet. He reveals that one of them will betray him. Judas leaves to do that dirty deed. And Jesus announces that thing. He's going to go away, but they cannot follow him. And they just don't understand. They don't understand what he's talking about, do they? So let's go on to the next slide. To put following a little bit later now. So this is now, Jesus has been arrested further on in the story, and all the disciples are scattered. But Peter still is kind of loyal, isn't he? He's still kind of there. He wants to follow Jesus. He's intrigued for what's going to happen, but he wants to try and stay close to him. Meanwhile, Simon Peter was still standing there, warming himself. So they asked him, you aren't one of his disciples too, are you? He denied it, saying, no, I'm not. Then one of the high priest's servants, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, challenged him. Didn't I see you with him in the garden? And Peter again denied it. And at that moment, the rooster began to crow. That must have really hit Peter's heart, mustn't it, when he heard that? Jesus' prophecy about his conduct. And that came true when he heard the rooster's crow. Now, I know I've said this before because I have preached on Peter before. I mean, I really love this guy because he's real, isn't he? He's one of the most raw of all the disciples. He's a real up and down kind of guy. He's just your regular man. On the one hand, he's very full of passion. He's very committed. He's a born leader and he takes risks. And on the other hand, he's over-emotional, doesn't think before he acts. He's a little bit stupid at times and he suffers intensely from foot-and-mouth disease. He's just your kind of regular bloke, isn't he? He doesn't put on the spiritual airs and graces, he's very normal. And I think Jesus loved that about him. He saw Peter's heart when he chose him to be his disciple. Jesus knew that beyond all that bravado and his failings, that Peter had a heart of gold. And he would actually be a really great kingdom ambassador once Jesus had lovingly knocked off some of the rough edges off of Peter and trained him up in love. Let's go back again, because when Peter first encountered Jesus for the very first time, he was fishing again, wasn't he? He was there with his brothers, they were casting the nets. And if you realise, that story I've just said about the miraculous catch is a repeat of that very first one. They had another fruitless night, not catching any fish. Jesus, who they didn't even know who's Jesus, he turns up on the scene, gets into Peter's boat, and you think, that's quite cheeky, isn't it? This guy they've never met just gets into Peter's boat, says, cast off again, we're going out into the deep water, cast your nets, and Peter pretty much, oh Lord, we've fished all night, we've caught nothing, but we'll do it. I don't even know who this guy is, But Peter senses that there's something going on, and this time, the net again is just full to bursting with fish. And Peter, if you remember the story, Peter literally falls to his knees and basically realizes that he's a sinful man. He's in the presence of God. And Jesus accepts him there on the spot to be his follower. Such a beautiful story, isn't it? And Jesus asked him straight away, didn't he, to give up his livelihood. He said, I will make you a fisher of men, but you've got to give up your day job to come with me and be my disciple. Will you do that? And Peter said yes. With all his whole heart, he did this without question. And Peter follows Jesus. He hears many wonderful truths. He sees incredible healings, miracles. He even performs some of them himself. He's a real hands-on guy. He learns and he repeats what Jesus is doing with Jesus' help. He's often the first to defend Jesus. He speaks up for him. He asks the silly questions that the other disciples want to ask, but are too afraid. and he's willing to take risks to be close to Jesus. Who was the first one to try walking on water? Peter. He takes the risk, and Jesus just loves this man. He loves that he's willing to go all in for him. And that's probably why Peter's fall from grace was really quite dramatic and really heartrending. Because, this guy said he loved him. He said he loved Jesus and was willing to follow him. And I think what he did in denying Jesus, ripped Jesus' heart to bits. And I think, and it rips Peter's heart to bits as well. Jesus is, let's not forget he's God, but he's fully man. He was able to be really hurt. And Peter's friendship at that moment was gone, hadn't it? And with each denial, 3 times he denied Jesus after Jesus' arrest, and I think each time he denied him, Jesus heard that denial, and I think Peter just descended into more despair. Jesus was hurt, and Peter was just going into a lack of confidence. There was this more and more waves of guilt and regret drowning him, I believe, each time he denied him. But why did he do it? He'd betrayed God. He said he loved him. He said he was committed to him. He's the one who had actually been feeding the lost sheep of Israel alongside Jesus for that time. Peter was lost. At that moment, Peter was really lost. Fear had conquered him, and both his faith and his love had melted away. But, and I love the word but Jesus forgives and restores him. Like Adam and Eve after his sin, Peter hid. He hid back in his old life, in his security of his fishing job. He hid from God. But it's Jesus who seeks Peter out, like God sought Adam and Eve out after they had sinned. God never gives up on us, does he? When we're far from him, he always is seeking us. He's always pursuing us. And Jesus seeks him with that incredible love and grace to reassure him that all is not actually lost. That Peter, is actually, most importantly, not lost. I think what a beautiful moment. Don't we all need that God's amazing grace in our lives, like Peter had at that time? But let's try and get into Peter's head. What must have been going through Peter's head when he saw Jesus? He realised it was Jesus on the lakeside after he told him to, cast his nets again. I think he must have been absolutely been overjoyed that it was Jesus, because he jumped out of the boat, swam to get to him. But come on, he must have also been still feeling, that's Jesus who I actually disowned. He must have felt joy and guilt in probably equal measure. But Jesus doesn't rebuke him, does he? He lovingly takes him aside, away from the other disciples, and he asks him those 3 questions. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Feed my sheep, care for my sheep, look after my sheep. He could have asked him once, so why did he ask him 3 times? I said I'd tell you what I believe is the answer. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And Jesus is really clever, isn't he? He asked him 3 times to readdress each one of those denials. He asked him if he loved him 3 times to heal Peter's heart. With each time, Peter said, I love you. I think it's such a beautiful thing, isn't it? And Peter got irritated, didn't he? Because he's Peter. Oh, Lord, you're going to ask me for the 4th time? Or do you not? Peter gets irritated, but Jesus exactly knew that he needed to ask him 3 times. Peter's heart was being fully restored and healed with each declaration he made. And Peter's faith and love was also being restored at the same time. Jesus was clearly showing Peter that love for God cannot be demonstrated unless we love and serve people in the church to which we belong, and love and serve those lost souls who don't know Jesus yet. It's no good just saying, I love you, Jesus, but not loving the people that we're with and the people outside of our community. Love for God is demonstrated by love for our fellow men. And the story doesn't end, does it? If we go on to Acts, after the Holy Spirit was given, poured out, Peter went on to witness amazing things. Read the book of Acts. Peter is just seeing miracles and healings. And the first thing that happened after he was filled with the Spirit, what did he do? Went outside, preached to 3,000 people, boldly stood up for Jesus, the one he'd denied earlier, and said, I belong to Jesus. You can stone me, you can kill me, but I love the Lord and I'm going to tell you all about him. 3,000 people. That's not a bad altar call, is it, for a day? Wouldn't you like that? We'd probably get about 3,000 in here, couldn't we, that squeeze? But this man had gone from denying Jesus to being fearful and guilt-ridden to being so bold and courageous for the Lord. What an amazing story. Maybe you've blown it. I mean, I can briefly tell you a little story. For those of you who know, my mum went into a nursing home in December. So the family home, once the government and the powers that be know that there's an asset, that had to be sold to pay for some of my mum's care. So for the last few months, I've been putting the house on the market. And solicitors and estate agents, it takes a while, doesn't it? And but it got to the final 2 weeks ago. Got to the final leg of the journey. We got a completion date, and it was literally the 2 Fridays ago. So I had to go up. I went up on my own. There were still big items of furniture to move out: the 3-piece sofa and the stair lift. So I phoned up a company, and they were coming to pick up both of those big items. The guy phones me the day before saying, I'm sorry, but the big van, he's had to go and have its brakes fixed. So I said, well, okay, as long as you turn up with a van that's going to get those big items in, I don't really mind, because they're not being left on the front lawn when the new people are about to move in. So guess what? He turns up in a tiny little van. I'm already feeling quite stressed. To give you a little context, it's been the family home. My mum was there for 65 years. I'm feeling quite mixed emotionally about saying goodbye. I know it's bricks and mortar, but it's the memories. My brother and I grew up there, and as you know, my brother was killed in a road accident, so it kind of has special memories for me, that place as well, So I was feeling a bit tired and a bit drained anyway. It's 2 hours journey. It's not an easy thing just to go up and down, sort of thing. So I was thinking, I just really don't need this, God. So I'm starting to get really irritated with God. And so this guy turns up, we get the sofa in, and then he says, well, I said to him, you're not going to get this stair lift in, are you? No, I'm going to get it in. So he starts sawing off the wooden divide behind the seats, and then tries to get this stair lift in. I thought, even I can see the angle it's going in. It ain't going to go in. And then, fortunately, as well as getting irritated, because I had loads of things still to do. I had other things to get rid of. I had estate agents to talk to, the solicitors. There was still stuff to do, and my stress levels were starting to go through the roof a bit, because I wanted to enjoy the last time in the family home without having kind of all this hassle. And I think, God, you know that, and what's going on? So eventually, the neighbour turned up next door, and he's been brilliant over the last few months. And I said, have you got a hacksaw? Because I thought, I don't know what to do. So then got this hacksaw. So this lovely guy with a van, with a very small van, spent the next 45 minutes with me sitting on the stair lift in the front garden to weight it down. So he hacksawed through it. Eventually, after 45 minutes, we got through enough to bend it in half and get it in the van. And I thought, I've just spent like an hour and a half of my time when I could have been doing other things. It should have been a simple turn up, load, goodbye. And then the other thing was happening. The YMCA were turning up to take some other items because I wanted to donate some stuff. They were supposed to be coming that same day as well. And it got to but I had a window of between 9 and 6 when they turned up, which was starting to add to my stress levels, because I was thinking, I can't go out into town. I can't make a phone call, because as soon as I make a phone call, they'll phone, won't they? And they won't turn up then, because they have to talk to you before they turn up. So I wasted my time, and it got to 5:45, and I phoned them up and said, are you coming? Oh, no. I thought, could you not tell me that you're not coming? So at that point, I lost it. I think I've told God a few choice things I felt, and I just thought, this is really very stressful and not a very nice experience. I really wanted to enjoy the last little time. And then I called Nick, because I thought, I've got to talk to someone apart from God. So bless her, Nick got it down the phone. But she was very lovely and reassuring. And I finally sort of realised, because I thought, and it was the double bed, that the YMCA were coming to turn up and pick up. And it suddenly dawned on me that I would have had to have slept literally on the carpet. And actually, in God's grace, the YMCA didn't turn up. Although it added to my stress levels, I realised that I could spend the last night still on the double bed. And I thought, God, you've just, when I'm annoyed and I don't see the bigger picture, you've got a plan. And And so I really blew it with God. I told him, and I was really angry, and I was annoyed and feeling stressed. But actually, once I calmed down and speak, he's just like, I thought, yeah, it's God, you're in it, you've got it. And I had a really, really peaceful night's sleep, and it was lovely. Woke up the next day, did the last little tip run, said goodbye, did my prayers in the house, said goodbye, and left some flowers for the new people, wrote them a little note saying, hope you enjoy the family home. And that was it, and said goodbye. So I had to say sorry to God. I felt, I blew it. I mean, it's only a small thing, but, I knew I'd overstepped the mark and didn't. But there we go. So maybe like me, maybe you've blown it. Maybe you're going to blow it. How do you cope when you blow it? What do you do? Do you beat yourself up? Do you go into guilt? Do you struggle to feel close to God? Maybe you just need to sort of take that time to pray, like I did. Nick prayed on the phone, and I prayed, and then God can actually calm you down, can't he, and reach in. Maybe, what do you do? Don't run from God like Peter did. Stay where you are and let God come to you. But you can only do that if you pray and ask him to show you the bigger picture. And he'll heal your heart. He'll take away the stress and the frustrations and all the other things. I'm just glad that God is the God of more than one chance, aren't you? He's the God of endless chances if our hearts are really, truly, for him. Because we mess it up. But he loves us and he restores us. And I feel, I just felt closer to God after that moment and was really thankful for that family home and all the memories and the wonderful times I'd had there growing up. So I managed to sort of leave with happy times in my head and in my heart.